Ladies and gentlemen, this is the AfterBurners podcast. I'm your host, Samuel Oney. With me, two special guests, Wes and Henry Buxton. Lads, how are you? How are you this fine evening?
I'm all right. Yeah, I haven't been here in a while,
good.
but I'm back. Still recovering after it. I don't think it's quite settled in yet. What's
It's good
happened,
to see.
but
Now,
obviously we'll talk about it.
it's good to see you both. It's good to see you both. Now, as you know, last weekend, or just 2 days ago, rather, 2 days ago, the world of sport came to a stop because it was the race finale, F1, Abu Dhabi, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. It was a winner take all, and F1 wasn't without controversy. Now, before we get into the race, let's talk about qualifying, because qualifying was who to start on pole. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. Lads, let me get your thoughts. Wes?
I think it was an incredible lap from Verstappen because for quite a lot of Q3, Hamilton had pole. I can't remember, someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a bit of strategy at play in qualifying when I think Verstappen was due to start on the mediums, or Red Bull wanted him to start on the mediums, but locked up into one of the corners, got a flat spot, so had to change to the soft tyres, which of course got him pole at the end of Q3. And Hamilton, meanwhile, stuck with the medium tyres. So we thought going into the race, is there going to be a bit of strategy? Is Verstappen perhaps going to try and do a two-stopper? Is Hamilton going to do a one-stopper, go onto the hards till the end of the race? But as it turns out, both drivers tried to do the one-stop, and we'll get into the race a bit later. But just sticking with quali, only 3 of the top 10 started on mediums, both Mercedes plus Tsunoda, who started P8, which is a decent result for Tsunoda, given he hasn't had the best of seasons in qualifying or in the races either. But I think he out-qualified Gasly, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was he's the only one not to before the final race, and we thought Gasly was going to get a clean sweep, but no, right at the end, last race, out-qualified him. The only one not to.
Similar with Latifi as well. I think Latifi out-qualified Russell for the second time.
Yeah,
this year.
He out-qualified him a couple of races ago. Yeah.
And on the radio,
I'm sure
Russell qualify.
I'm sure Russell wouldn't have minded anyway. I mean, when you go into a team like Mercedes for next year, you're like, yeah, you know what? I'll let Latifi have some fun in qualifying, you know. So
he had a lot to say in the final race, then, didn't
he? All right, good one.
Norris P3 as well, also honourable. I mean, that just came out of nowhere. Really, I think McLaren have been slightly off the pace the last few races, and then Norris P3.
And I remember Norris was actually. I saw a pre-race interview when he was, they're all on the grid, and he was talking to Martin Brundle. I think it was Martin Brundle, and he was saying that he didn't actually want to be P3 because he didn't want to get involved in what was going on. Yeah. He was like, I'm a bit worried because obviously if this was any other race, I'd be right into it. But because he was just sort of like, I kind of didn't really want to be third, but he's third, so he has to just deal with it. Yeah. And I remember I know I'm going too far forward, but I remember on the final lap, I don't know whether it was him or Ricciardo that was third, kind of not. He wasn't third at the point, but he was behind Lewis and Max, and it was you could see him like really slow down just to let them race. I think it was Ricciardo, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I remember Norris at the start of at the end of the start just before the race. So it was then obviously qualified had been done. Going, I didn't really want to be third, but I'm third, and I'll just see what happens. Stay out the way.
Of course, the weekend was all about Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, but also we have to mention Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi Räikkönen coming into the weekend, final race of his career, as he would then retire from F1. The Iceman, the man that did not want to speak to anyone in the media. If I wanted to talk to Kimi Räikkönen in an interview, I doubt he'd want to talk to me. So Kimi Räikkönen, a former world champion 2007 with Ferrari. How do you sum him up? How do you sum up his career? great racer.
Just what a character.
Yeah.
First of all,
You don't have
I
any
mean, it's-
character.
well, I suppose that's sort of the character about him.
Yeah,
I mean,
guess
he's
so.
just so different and just chill, I suppose, compared to other drivers. Like, Verstappen, you get the sense that he's aggressive, he's hot-headed. You don't get those sort of words being linked to Kimi Räikkönen. He's just chill, does what he wants, quite relaxed, laid back, doesn't give two monkeys about the media.
Business in the front, business in the back. No time for play.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's changed his Insta bio to it just says retired now. I don't know if you noticed. It just
His
says
dry
retired rather than-
humor is just something to behold, isn't it? He's professional, but he's also just quite funny and dry, and I think that's what we miss about him. If I may talk about him a little bit as well, I think Kimi has been in. He must have been in F1 for as long as we've been alive, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Early
All
2000s.
three.
Definitely, yeah.
He's been in since I can remember, so he must have been in for a long time, and yeah, he's just been a constant, and it's going to be really strange to not see his name racing. I know for as long as I can remember, I mean, even Vettel's been in the sport. I mean, Alonso, he went and came back, and he's been there, but Raikkonen has been a constant, hasn't he? And it's going to be a strange one, not seeing his name on that list in 2022. But I wish him all the best, and I hope he has a long and enjoyable retirement with all the money that he's got. He's got a lovely little family, so yeah, I wish him all the best.
So, just lastly on Raikkonen, what was your favorite moment of him that you can recall? I think what I can recall was
You will not have the drink. You will not have the drink. Is the drink connected? No, sorry, Kimmy. You will not have the drink. That one.
I think.
No,
I
so
think
I'm not
one
having the drink. No, there's no drink.
Kimmy. I think the one that I can recall
Glove
was
steering wheel as well.
Yeah, him eating ice cream during the Monaco Grand Prix. I think he was on the yacht. He was just standing there and just, I think that's where you got the word Iceman from it. But yeah.
Yeah, he really stuck to his name there.
You got I suppose the most well-known, leave me alone, I know what I'm doing, which
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo did put on the side of his car for that final race. Kimi will leave you alone now, which I think is brilliant. And they said a goodbye message in Italian to Giovinazzi as well. He's going off to Formula E. There's so many memorable Kimi moments. As I say, glove steering wheel in Baku 2017, I think it was. There was an interview with, I think it was Martin Brundle, quite a long time ago now, where Mark Brundle was like, "Oh, where were you?" or something. And then I won't say, I'll paraphrase slightly, but I was having a poo. Kimi fucking said.
Yeah,
which I mean, it's just
dry
brilliant. And
humor.
sort of sums him up as well. That
Doesn't
that
care.
dry humor.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, we will miss him. Miss that name.
Him.
RAI on the side. Miss it.
We'll miss him. And qualifying was done. Then it started. It was down to the race. You're either Lewis Hamilton or your team Verstappen. History was gonna be made. We would either have a first-time Dutch champion or an 8-time world champion.
Didn't happen though, did it?
Now.
Good.
Right. 5 lights go out. We go racing. Lewis Hamilton, unbelievable start from him. And it went well.
He was a whole tenth of a second quicker reaction time than Max, which is just unheard of, because normally you do get about around like that 0.3-ish mark, and he was 0.25 seconds and Max was 0.35 seconds, so he was a whole tenth of a second quicker. That just shows how concentrated and determined he was to get that, because even on a normal race you don't get that quickly, but in a championship race where your nerves are all going, I think he might have pressed it a little bit earlier than he normally does, obviously, and he just timed it perfectly right. So brilliant start from Hamilton, I think.
Wes?
Yeah, again, a brilliant start from Hamilton, and I remember watching it and thinking, "Well, is that going to be it now?" Because Abu Dhabi isn't a great track for overtaking. It's not a great track for racing, and despite the changes for this weekend, I still don't think overall
The
there were a lot
modifications,
of dry periods.
the
It made it better.
modifications did make it a bit better, and I think I enjoyed the visual more of it not being just like angle turn, angle turn, angle turn, or whatever it was, and you know that hairpin going in, out, back around. It was round, and then obviously on the end bit you come in all the way sweet like a turkey turn. 8, 9 is changed around every year,
turn
and
8,
then that apex coming in a bit around the hotel section to get a bit of a faster section through there. I think visually it was a lot better, but obviously, yeah, like you said, there wasn't much. There was a dry spell right in the middle one. There was the action at the start, then the action at the end.
I mean,
watching the Channel 4 highlights, it went from I think something like lap 38 to lap 53 when the
that
crashed.
just shows
that's 15 laps of nothingness.
That just shows how normal,
badly designed. It's more of a showcase than an actual racing track. I think
it just showed that nothing happened in between that time frame. I mean, okay, we saw at turn 6 on the opening lap that Hamilton and Verstappen almost touched. Thank God they didn't.
He lunged too far.
Now,
he lunged too far.
Don't want to talk about
It was nothing that had to do with Hamilton's fault. It was Verstappen's
Don't want to talk about Verstappen's racecraft as per se, but
too aggressive.
When I'm talking, you don't talk, okay?
You're just going to try to defend Verstappen. You're going to try to defend Verstappen, so I'm going to defend Lewis. He lunged. Well, it was horrendous.
Okay, but let's look at this. So Hamilton comes. So at this point, Hamilton's first, Verstappen's second coming into this point, and Verstappen comes in, and he obviously has the racing line with Hamilton almost behind him coming from the right hand side, and then Verstappen almost. But okay, let's see it from Hamilton's point of view, because I think that's where I watched it most. He almost, he wants to turn left into Verstappen's rear right. Oh, I can't get my words out, but you know what I mean. So, and then Hamilton just, goes off track, and from there he's in the lead. But you're not supposed to do that because you're meant to have track position. So, what's your view on that then?
Well, no, Wes, you go first.
All right, I'll go first. I think it was a very aggressive move by Verstappen. As Henry said, he did go for quite a late lunge into turn 6.
Quite.
Max did
a very
late lunge, yeah. But yeah, Max managed to keep it on the track. Lewis, in my view, was forced off. Lewis had nowhere to go in that corner because Max, he just ran him out of road. If there was a gravel trap there or something, then Lewis would have been straight in the gravel and potentially out of the race there and then. But thankfully, Abu Dhabi doesn't have gravel or whatever runoffs. I know a lot of people don't like tarmac runoffs, but I think in that situation it kind of helped a little bit. Max just he didn't. It was almost like Brazil, where he didn't turn as much as he should have done, in a way. Because as I say, he forced Hamilton off, and people saying, "Oh, Lewis should have got a penalty for not giving the position back." But in my view, Lewis had nowhere to go because Max was right on the sort of blue and white track runoff limit, or track limits, if you like. So Lewis had to go straight on. He had no chance to make the second part of that chicane. He had no chance to make the second corner. And it's a difficult one because a lot of the commentators, David Coulthard, Mark Webber on Channel 4, saying that I think Martin Brundle also said that Hamilton should give the place back or he should be penalised or something. But it's a difficult one for the stewards. And in the end, I think they did get it right. I think it was a racing incident.
No investigation.
No investigation needed, exactly. And whilst I don't think Hamilton gained much from it, if anything, really, because he slowed a bit across the sort of the inside of the corner, if you like. He slowed down on the tarmac runoff, and then from there on in, Hamilton just blasted away. Once he got back on track, I think that just shows the pace of Hamilton's car, the skill of the driver, and just the ferociousness of the engine in the car as well. It's the Brazil engine, the spicy engine that Mercedes have got. And I think over the course of the weekend, Mercedes had the quicker car. It's just Verstappen got a little bit of luck from the racing gods, which we'll get on to later.
Henry?
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I rudely interrupted you. I apologise. But yeah, the lunge was too much. I think I'm going to go to it that it was a racing incident because it's first lap. They normally let them race on the first lap or so if they're closer. Well, if that was happened on a later lap, maybe there'd be a penalty. I don't know which way. I know I'm a bit biased, but I probably would have given it Max for not turning and lunging. Yeah, like you said, Lewis had nowhere to go. But yeah, it was a bit of a wrongdoing for both, but it was a racing incident, so let it go. I know, like, Max sort of didn't let Lewis go and didn't let him turn, so Lewis had to run off, and that's Lewis, gaining a sort of advantage. But like you said, he had nowhere to go, so they've both done two things wrong. He's lunged, he's got off the track and gained a sort of advantage. They've both done something wrong, cancel each other out. No investigation necessary, and I think that was right. But it did sort of set up. It was a high risk for Max going into that because it did push Lewis ahead of him then, and he was ahead of him for the most of the thing, and it looked like he was going to win it. But yeah, like you said, we'll get on to the end of the race later. But yeah, they both did something wrong-ish. Max lunged, T went off the track, cancelled each other out. Yeah, that's all there is to say about that racing incident.
Now, before we get into the big drama of towards the end of the race, I want to pick out one part of the race that I really liked, which I think everybody would have liked, and this was the on-track battle between Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton. Now, I don't know, Wes, I don't think I have an award for this, but best track battle of the season, on-track battle of the season. If I haven't got an award for that, we'll put that in later. Sergio Perez, if you have to have that one teammate to get you back into the championship fight when you're 12 seconds behind your rival, call up Sergio Perez. How brilliant was he going up against Hamilton? I enjoyed
incredible. It was brilliant. For me, it was my favorite moment of the race. Just those 2 laps, wheel to wheel, for, well, not for every corner, obviously, but along that back straight, Checo was a machine. It was insane the way he defended. Because when Lewis got past him on DRS on the first lap of the battle, I'd have thought, oh, well, that's going to be it. There's no way Checo can come back from that with no DRS on completely worn soft tyres, whereas Hamilton's on fresh hards. There's no way Perez can come back, and yet he lunged down the inside, made the move stick, and yeah, he sort of lost it a little bit again on the second DRS straight, but a cheeky move down the inside, almost 4 wheels off the track, but luckily just about kept to with inside the track limits, and then came back at him through turn 6, I think it was. And yeah, it was just an insane battle, and I think he helped Verstappen, or he slowed Lewis up by 5 seconds that lap, which is a huge amount. I think before that, Verstappen was losing time on Hamilton by 0.2, 0.5 a second, 0.8 or whatever. And then you just see the timing screen at the bottom pop up, and then you just see Verstappen minus 5 seconds on the lap. And you could see him on the second lap of that battle, around about lap 16, 17, I think it was, where, again, the DRS straight after the hairpin, Hamilton got the position back over Perez, but you could see Verstappen not even far in the background. He was a second behind, 1 second, 1.2 seconds. And you thought, hang on a second, this battle really is on. The race is now back on, all thanks to Checo. And just the team, the team spirit that he had, because I know his engineer was over the radio saying, "Oh, back him up in the hotel section." And then when Hamilton did make the move stick on Perez, the engineer came over and was like, "Slow down, back off, max DRS, give max DRS." And that's exactly what he did. He got out of the way on that DRS straight, allowed Max to go full on against Hamilton. And what a teammate, what a drive. I could watch that moment over and over again. It was absolutely brilliant entertainment.
Henry, you must have enjoyed it. Come on.
Oh, no. Oh, you said it was your favourite part of the race. It was my least favourite part of the race, obviously, apart from the end. Oh, my gosh. As a neutral or a Red Bull fan of some sort, yeah, amazing. But in the moment, for me, it was horrendous. I was just like, get past him as quick as possible. Come on, you got to get past him. Oh, check it. But yeah, fair enough. Checo, brilliant driving. I mean, some of them would say it was dangerous driving, but I think it was safe, and it was just
I
racing.
didn't quite
at the end of the day.
understand what Lewis meant by dangerous driving. If
Yeah,
I'm honest.
to be fair to Lewis, shouldn't have said that because it wasn't. He was just obviously looking for an excuse to say, "Oh, I can't pass him. He's doing dangerous driving."
Yeah.
I don't think it was. I think it was fair enough. But yeah, one of my least favorite parts of the race. It was horrendous. But yeah, but coming into that's what teammates are for. That's literally, especially when it comes to this sort of moment where only two people can win. You've almost got you literally have a second driver to help you out. You have a second car. And it was a shame that Bottas was so far back, because I think Bottas could have done that in some way as well. His qualifying result was shocking, to be fair, but was that a dig at Mercedes, or did he just have a poor qualifying session? I don't really know, but yeah, for Perez to qualify well, stay there well, defend well, come in, obviously give him DRS, and then I think there was a bit of a tactical thing at the end where they retired the car, and he was like, "Why? Just retire it." Because I think that was one of the reasons why they let them race on the last lap, because it's one less car in the way to get past. That was my thought, because there was no reason why Checo had to retire the car on the second to last lap or whatever. I think it was a reason. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think the Red Bull did say that they brought him in just to avoid keeping the safety car out a bit longer, or to avoid just having another incident, another crash or VSC or whatever that could potentially hamper Verstappen's race.
It was another car that could have been in the way of Verstappen, plus another car that could crash and hinder the other races. But yeah, I think that when it comes to teammates, there's a sort of almost what they need to do, but because you've got a teammate in a very similar car than you, pretty much the same spec, decent, and you've got a really decent driver like Checo, then I don't think you can go wrong with Sergio. So yeah, he did what he needed to do. Did it probably better than a lot of drivers could have done. So yeah, Max has to give all the credit to Checo as much as any of the team members that they have at Red Bull.
Indeed. And now we come to the moment of, you know what? I can't even. I can't understand. It's not even Latifi's crash that I'm gonna rant on about. Race control.
Before that, can I just mention something else?
Go on.
There was a VSC before, around about halfway into the race. No, this isn't the main talking point, but you had Toto come over the radio and say to Michael Masi, "Don't bring out a safety car; it interferes with the racing." And that is not on for me. For the race director to be potentially influenced by the team principal. I know Christian Horner was doing it as well. Both Wolf and Horner were doing it for pretty much the whole of the race.
They're doing anything they can to win, though, aren't they? Yeah. They're just doing anything they can. And in that moment, Toto just had to say that just for any sense, because he probably couldn't. The car was probably coming out no matter what. But he was just thinking, I need to try this, and it's a lose-lose situation. But I need to try that, because if I don't, then it will never happen. So yeah, I think it was just a stab in the dark, and it didn't really come off. So,
and that VSC also allowed Verstappen a free pit stop as well, change onto fresh hards, potentially chase Hamilton down, but unluckily perhaps again just shows the pace that Mercedes had. Hamilton on worn hards was able to not gain time from Verstappen, but Verstappen wasn't able to gain enough time on Hamilton, if you like. He was going around about 0.4 second of a lap faster than Hamilton, but he needed to double that. He had to go around 0.8 to a second of a lap faster. Again, it shows the quality of driver that Hamilton is, and shows just how quick Mercedes car is.
Now,
but Hamilton, sorry, just before we go on to that, Hamilton should have pitted.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah. In both safety car incidents, why didn't he pit? He had two opportunities and he didn't take either of them. In a for a pit stop, it was an average of about 23-24 seconds. To cut that down to 40 seconds and pit at the same time as Max,
it takes 21 seconds
golden.
To come in, change your tires, pit, and drive out again.
But under a
21
VSC,
seconds.
it was about 14
It
seconds.
was about 14, 17 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
And then safety car is obviously be even less than that as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, you've got to think there was two golden opportunities where I think that he didn't come in, and both times Lewis said, "Why didn't you bring me in? Why didn't you bring me in?" I think the constructors of Mercedes have to take as much blame as anyone else to do with Lewis Hamilton not winning the championship on Sunday.
I was confused by it, I must admit, because Hamilton, I suppose Mercedes could be like, we risk losing track position.
Could you say that Hamilton not pitting on either one of those two occasions ultimately cost him the championship?
Yes, because if he pitted onto a different, it's not even a question. If he pitted on any of those things, he would have had fresher tyres. And if the same things panned out, if he pitted at either one, same things panned out, the last lap shootout, we would have had better tyres, and it literally would have been a one-on-one shootout. Can Max pass Lewis on pretty much similar, if not Lewis has better tyres? If Max Verstappen passes him, then there's still the controversy, but it's more just that in that moment, Michael Masi and everyone knew that Max had the better tyres. It was just a matter of when, not if, in that final lap. But it could have been if they were both on. If Lewis had pitted, they're both on silly tyres. It would have been a if, not a when.
Go on, Reds.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I sort of agree with that to some extent, because Hamilton's tyres were completely shot towards the end of the race. Because that Pirelli said the hards could do maximum of 50 laps, but Hamilton must be going on for, he pitted on lap 15 and 58 lap race, so what's that, 43 laps hard tyres.
Whereas Verstappen to be running on those tyres.
Verstappen pitted at the end under safety car, another free pit stop, his second free pit stop of the race, changed onto a fresh set of soft, not a scrub set, and a fresh set of softs compared to a worn set of hards, it's no contest, really. So it's debate. I think it's debatable whether those two pit stops cost Hamilton the championship, but it did certainly affect it.
Indeed. And well, we're gonna run out of time soon, but before we run out of time, let's talk about that crash with Latifi then, that ultimately set Michael Masi and race control on fire. Now, which one of you wants to talk about it first? Because I just
go on, folks.
I'm still confused, but not even confused. I'm just annoyed by it.
I know we're talking about it being the Latifi crash, being a decided moment.
But it was.
It's I know, but I know, and I'm gutted. I'm gutted because it was the reason. It was one of the reasons why Hamilton lost. But crashing happens in a race. Latifi had no say in it. He didn't choose to crash. He didn't want.
I'm not blaming him. No.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming him, but it was just a massive deciding factor, and it obviously spiraled into the final controversy. And did it? I watched WTF1's reaction video. It was like, it was like the domino effect when it was like this. It was like a tiny domino, a big domino. It was like Nicholas Latifi being bored, and then it was like Max Verstappen World Championship. It was like it's a slippery slope. So everything stemmed from Nicholas Latifi being born to Max winning the World Championship. Anything and everything has happened. But yeah, it happens. It's part of racing, crashing, any laps, and it just happened to be right at the end. And then a lack of decision making and quite controversial decision making. But yeah, I don't blame Latifi in the slightest. It just happened. So I blame Michael Masi and the FIA for a very controversial finish. I mean, it didn't have a lot of choices, but I think there was better choices than the ones that they chose. But then again, I'm a Lewis fan. I wanted Lewis to win.
Okay, with the choices that Masi made, because everybody was calling for his head because of like the decisions they made, right? We all know what happened or how Masi came about his decision, because he wanted to make it more like a show rather than a race. Come on, there are 6 cars or 5 between Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, or whoever's in first or second. I don't know the order, but I think Norris, Ocon, and a few other drivers were in that gap. For those cars to say, oh, lapped cars can now, proceed or overtake. I don't know what the thing was, but to say that, because that's not in the rules, is it? It's not in the rules.
It's not. It's horrendous. It is
Well,
horrendous.
It's a tricky one, and that's what Mercedes were protesting at the end of the race, because I can't remember the exact. I think it's 39.12 or something like 38.12, one of those. Yeah, it was very weird, because a lap before, lap 56, I think, Masi came over the radio, well, race control or whatever, and said lap cars won't be allowed to overtake, which is allowed. It's not mandatory for lap cars to overtake, but it's typically only in wet races where they don't overtake the safety car and then rejoin on the lead lap. So to do it then Abu Dhabi is about as bone dry as you can get anywhere in the world. So to make that decision was strange, because I think the safety car had already been out 2 or 3 laps by then. So potentially, if Masi made the decision to allow not just 5-lap cars, but all lapped cars to overtake the safety car, maybe then we could have had a lap or 2 of green flag racing. But yeah, the decision he made with 1 lap to go, or a lap and a half to go, to allow 5 lapped cars. I think there were 8 lap cars in total, to allow, I think, Norris, Vettel, Ocon, Alonso might have been one as well. I can't quite remember the other one. But to allow 5 is a completely ludicrous decision, just to get Verstappen and Hamilton close so we can have a bit of entertainment on the final lap. That's not how F1 should be run. Is complete. I mean, I'm happy that Max won, but in case you couldn't tell over the podcast, but that decision by Michael Masi, he should go. He should be sacked for that. It was a horrible, horrible decision, and leaves, I know Matt Gallagher from WTF1 would say, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth at how Verstappen won, because, as I say, I'm happy for Max. Both drivers, I would have been happy with whoever won it, really, because it's been one of the greatest seasons of all time in Formula One. But the way it ended is just dreadful, and leaves, it taints the sport a little bit for me, because if the race director just go, sod it, let's rip up the rule book, let's just have a bit of entertainment for the final race, because as we said earlier, it was no contest. Max on fresh softs, Lewis on worn hards. But there could have been another way Masi could have done it. We might have to try and rejoin the Zoom link in a minute. But Masi could have red flagged the race. Lap 53, there were 5 laps to go, or 4 racing laps to go. He could have red flagged it, and then, yeah, it would have allowed pretty much everyone to have a free pit stop, change to soft tyres. But even with that, you could then say, right, it's a 4-lap shootout between Verstappen and Hamilton. You both got fresh tyres, you both got relatively similar fuel loads, cars weigh about the same. It's now down to who has the faster car and who's the better driver. I think overall, in hindsight, I know at the time it would have been difficult to do that, but in hindsight, the correct decision for me would have been to red flag the race.
Yeah.
Have a standing start, 4 or 5 laps, everyone on.
We could have had Baku all over
tyres.
again.
They would have been on. Exactly, yeah. It could have been Baku all over again. I think I mentioned you about that. But yeah, the way Masi did it was just horribly, horribly wrong. And yeah, for that, he shouldn't stand as race director for another race.
I was thinking in the moment, obviously I'm biased to Lewis and I wanted Lewis to win. But in the moment, I thought there was 2 options, and obviously these are going to be pro Lewis. Was either one, finish behind the safety car. That obviously he doesn't want that because he wants drama. The other option was to start the race again, not let the unlap cars unlap, and just race from there. And obviously Max has to get past in 1 lap or whatever, 2 laps, has to get past all of them. That would have been a bit of drama, but it would have obviously favoured Lewis again. But he chose the third option, which was to unlap and then have a race. It was sort of like it was the third option that shouldn't have even happened. Shouldn't have even been there.
The other 2 ways that you mentioned there would have been legally in the FIA rule book. That's what I was thinking. Fine. I would have been more fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Lewis. I was like, Lewis has won here because there's 2 options. Because when Latifi crashed, I was obviously cursing whatever gods may be, racing gods, whatever. But I was thinking, actually, as it was going on and the race was going on and laps were going down, I was thinking, this is favouring Lewis because there was the two options that I just said. It's either finish behind the safety car or go from where you're going, and Max has to pass 5 cars before he even passes Lewis. And never mind if Lewis even gets overtaken by 1 car, Max still has to get past 4 cars. It's like, it doesn't really matter. It was just, yeah, I thought those 2 options were the best option. And like you said, brilliant thought there about a red flag. That could have been better. They both get on the tyres that they want, and they go for like a 4-lap shootout, and that would have been a bit of drama as well, which would have been good. So I think that was a viable option.
That should have been the solution. That should have been what happened.
But that option that they chose was the wrong one by a mile. I mean, for Max Verstappen fans, I don't think you'll care. But for that option, I think it was horrendous. Really poor.
Indeed.
Just before we hop onto another Zoom, I know, Buxy, you said you were cursing about Latifi's crash, but I just started my shift for work, and my dad had it on downstairs. And as soon as Latifi crashed and there was a safety car being, I just heard my dad clapping because I don't think my dad wanted Hamilton to win, just because Hamilton's won again and again and again. We wanted a different winner.
And also, I do talk about. We'll jump onto another Zoom call in a bit. But it's not that I didn't want Max to win. Is that I wanted Lewis to win his 8th.
Yeah.
I don't not like Max. I just really like Lewis, and I wanted him to win his 8th. But he could be chasing it now. Like I talk about this in a bit, but it's just the specs are going to change. And I tweeted this out. The specs are going to change so much. We don't know what it's going to be like next season. He might be chasing that. He might not never get it. So yeah, you don't know.
Let's talk
continuity. Let's go. Let's
talk about that. Let's talk about that one-off race. That race between Hamilton and Verstappen that ultimately led to the Dutchman winning his first championship. Now, well, lads, what do you think? Okay, it wasn't the best solution to it, but it happened, and we got a champion in Max Verstappen.
I don't know. I'll say something. I just think that if we're talking about just quality racing, obviously, let's forget the fact that the tyres were different and it was all controversial. Lewis Hamilton put up a hell of a fight for about 6-7 corners. He held him off for a long time. Plus, on one of the straights, he nearly passed him back.
Yeah.
So that just shows how determined he was. But obviously, the tyres have just let him down. It's horrendous, yeah. But fair play to Lewis. He held him off for a lot longer than everyone thought he did. And then again, like I said, he nearly even overtook him back. But I think even if he passed him on that straight, he wouldn't have kept him behind again for long. He might have kept him for a couple of corners, but then that would have been it. Max would have passed him again on the straight, even if it was the start for this straight. He would have passed him again. But yeah, and then safe driving as well. I mean, Max could have easily just like gone into him and gone, "Oh look, we crashed. I win anyway." But no, Max probably saw his name and lights and thought, "Yeah, I just want to get over the finish line and win this." And he had the opportunity to, and he did it. So yeah, good safe driving from both of them. And yeah, I didn't enjoy it. but yeah, some decent racing and defensive racing from Hamilton, but obviously too little too late.
Wes?
I mean, yeah, that last lap is probably one of the best racing laps Abu Dhabi's had, I think, since it came onto the calendar.
It's forever.
Yeah. I think Max, he went quite early with his overtake because it was turn 5, the first hairpin. And I mean, yeah, there was no DRS, but that's a long old straight for Hamilton to just sit in the slipstream. And Verstappen did weave about a bit. His team, I think, came over the radio and said, "Don't do too much of that, otherwise the stewards will all come onto us. You're not allowed to weave too much." But yeah, as Henry said, the way Hamilton fought back on that second DRS straight, nearly overtaking Verstappen
on the outside,
what was it, 43 lap old hard tyres, where Verstappen's on 2 laps soft tyres, and those 2 laps were under safety car. It was an unbelievable effort from Hamilton, and hats off to him for. It was hats off to him for just being able to do that. I mean, yeah, the Mercedes had the quicker car, but those tyres were completely shot. And again, turn 6, could there have been an incident again if Hamilton didn't back out of it? It would have been absolute scenes if the 2 drivers came together on the last lap at turn 6. I mean, what would have happened then? Twitter would have just exploded.
Thing is, that's the problem with that last race, is that because Max Verstappen went into it on more race wins, he had almost nothing to lose in a sense that, you know, if he crashed out with Lewis, it wouldn't really matter. And I think for the first lap, he was sort of almost going, oh, if I crash into Lewis, I crash into Lewis, fair enough, I win anyway. But I think for that last lap, he didn't. He was a bit dangerous, but that's just Max.
A bit.
He's an aggressive driver.
But I think at that point, like I said a few minutes ago, he saw his name in lights. He wanted to finish over that line as world champion,
We got
rather
a
than getting out of the car in the wall as drivers' champion. So yeah, I think he did what he needed to do, and yeah, brilliant last lap, really, considering the controversy.
Max Verstappen, your new world champion, first Dutch F1 champion. Brilliant.
Cover your ears, Henry.
I'd be happy for him if it wasn't the fact that Lewis lost it.
If it was,
do you know what I mean? Do you understand?
If it was in clean circumstance, if it wasn't essentially down to the hands of Michael Masi and his decisions, if it was one on track,
I'd still be gutted.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't want Max to win. It's that I wanted Lewis to win.
It
His eighth championship.
It would just hurt less if it was settled fairly.
Yeah.
Let's say, rather than Michael Masi going
let's say that
the Netflix drama, if you like.
Let's say that.
But we've talked a lot about the top two. We've talked a lot about Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. But can we just give out some honourable mentions to Carlos Sainz or Ferrari? He got a podium, third place.
Stuck in nowhere.
His third podium of the season.
and no one cares he's got a podium as well. He's been easily the best of the rest for the whole season. His first season in Ferrari and has outscored Charles Leclerc, who's been there for 3 years now. Sainz has been, for me, the driver of the season. The way he's just consistently performed with Ferrari, as you say, 3 podiums, including the one at Abu Dhabi. He only just got it as well.
Monaco. What was the final standings of the Drivers' Championship? Where did Sainz finish in the end?
Finished fifth.
I swear it was decided, literally, like, a few of the places were decided on the last race.
Yeah.
Like Sainz was like 8th or 7th going into it, and he finished 5th or something, didn't he?
Yep, ahead of.
And then Leclerc dropped down. Norris dropped down. I know that Bottas was 3rd.
Now,
it all changed round that midfield. Well, not midfield, but upper to midfield. Drivers' Championship table. It's all shuffled around on the last race as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there were 5 points
for all of them.
separating Sainz, Norris, and Leclerc. You have Sainz 5th on 164.5, Norris 160, and Leclerc 1 point behind on 159.
Yeah,
Ricciardo wasn't too far behind on 115.
You know what Carlos Sainz needs, though? Do you know what he needs? He needs a race win. He needs to win a race. He needs to be on the top step of a podium.
He nearly got it at Monza last year. He nearly got it. Nearly.
So close with the McLaren, close. Yeah.
But I was very happy about Gasly. I do like Gasly.
Yeah.
Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri. Boy, after your season, to finish 4th place in Abu Dhabi, blimey.
The thing is, I don't think anybody really noticed that until like later on when they looked at the final standings that they realised. So remember, we'll talk about it again. Is it Matt Gallagher from F1? Do you know he does the race 1 down at the end? It says it really fastly, really fast. He went Max, Lewis, Sainz. It was Hamilton. No, Verstappen, Hamilton, Sainz, Tsunoda. And he went, what? Tsunoda got 4th? What? As he was doing it, he only realised. He was like, how did that happen then? Because everyone was just so fixated on the top 2, and obviously we knew Sainz finished 3rd because everyone watched the podium at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone was sort of just like, what?
Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda, 4th place.
He's a decent driver. I think he's a decent defensive driver. I'll tell you that. I know he's a bit, you know.
I wouldn't describe.
Dangerous.
I wouldn't
he's
describe
a good defensive driver.
Yuki Tsunoda as a decent driver.
He's a good defensive driver.
I'd say he's all right. I'd say he's decent.
He's in a good car though. He's in a good car.
Yeah.
Pierre Gasly, 5th place. Another great finish this season for him.
AlphaTauri trying to prove that they should be up there still, because we had a debate, didn't we, near the start of the season about which team would be like the 3rd team, and all 3 of those, you know, but we did debate Aston Martin, but they fell off, didn't they? We did debate that McLaren, Ferrari, AlphaTauri. The AlphaTauri didn't really come into picture, didn't we? We didn't really talk about that. We were debating whether it was going to be McLaren or Ferrari, and AlphaTauri have pushed it and proved that they should be up there as maybe the third team. And the Red Bull sister team, like they're not even meant to be as good as Red Bull, and they're second to them, really. They are second to them, but they could be pushing for that third place. But then again, I said this earlier in the episode, the specs are changing next year. They could be the worst, they could be the best. You just don't know next season.
Indeed. So yeah, Formula One has finished for the season. A new champion.
What are we gonna do for 5 months or whatever it is?
There's always some cricket
4
on.
months.
There's cricket on in Australia.
Oh, give over. Football. There's football.
What are we gonna do for almost 90 days until Formula One comes back? Now, another thing. Before we get to the quiz, we were talking about Kimi Räikkönen. Another man that we actually missed out was Valtteri Bottas. He will not be racing for Mercedes no more, as he's moving on to Alfa Romeo.
Yeah. Is he taking Kimi's seat or is he taking Gio's seat?
Taking Kimi's seat.
I think he's taking Kimi's seat and Guan Yu Zhou is taking Giovinazzi's seat. I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme.
No, it don't matter. They're both gone and they're both coming in.
Yeah. Valtteri, how would you sum up Valtteri Bottas's Mercedes career? If I was to do that, I'd say, right, let's get it straight. He hasn't had the best career at Mercedes. Probably topsy-turvy, would you say? He's had some high points and some low points.
I think I've said this on the podcast before. Bottas is a second driver. They say they're equal, but they're not. He has done enough that he can do. He was never going to win the World Championship because they're focusing too much on Lewis. He's almost done what he needs to do. If he gets a third or second, and gets podium consistently, he's done what he needs to do for Mercedes as a team, plus his own gratitude as a driver. Because if he gets first, they're all going to be like, "Well, you need to calm down," because obviously Lewis is the focus. And I don't know, they don't want to say it, but he's not been bad. He's just not been as good as Hamilton, Verstappen. But I'm going to miss the top of the board where it says Hamverbot or whatever, because it's always been that, hasn't it? And it's not going to be that anymore. It's going to be Hamver Russ or Hamver or Hamper Russ or
Russ Hamver could get Mercedes top 2.
Verus Ham, anything like that. But yeah, we're going to miss that bot at the top of
the
table. But then again, you don't know what Alfa Romeo have in their locker next season. Maybe Bottas has done a super move and he's going to win the championship next season. You just don't know, do you?
Siege of Alfa Romeo to win 2022 championship.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad after the race I was going. It could all change next season, like 2022. It's just the complete spectrum. So it's like we would be sitting here in 12 months' time going, and Nikita Mazepin wins the 2022 World Championship.
Oh
no! You just don't know what the specs are going to change next season. You just don't know. And Haas have been saying that they're focusing on next season. Yeah. Alfa Romeo have hinted at it. Ferrari have hinted at it a lot.
If there's one team to benefit from specs next season, it's going to be Ferrari, because
it's the one team to worry about next season that's going to come up in the specs. It'll be Ferrari, because for 2 seasons they've been saying that they're not focusing on those 2 seasons. They're focusing on 2022. So yeah, they're ones to watch, I think. Ferrari's coming back, definitely.
I think there are also a few drivers to watch out for next season as well. Maybe a couple that could potentially or should be looking.
We're going into like a 2022 preview now, aren't we? We need to save this.
To finish off, we've talked about Abu Dhabi. Max Verstappen is your new F1 champion, and Lewis is going to have to wait another season to get number 8. Now, to finish off,
more than that, could be more than that, unfortunately.
Let's finish off with a quiz. Now, okay. I'm sure we're all familiar with Grill the Grid, right?
Yeah.
Sebastian Vettel blew it away, naming all the F1 champions. Now, I think myself and Wes started a couple of weeks ago with a quiz of drivers' last names from A to Z. However, we only got to M. No, we got to N a couple of weeks ago. So Henry,
I think we're starting with N this week. I think we start on N.
Yeah, we start. Oh, N to Z. Okay, Henry,
Yeah, and to say.
you have the opportunity to join myself and Wes, naming
Right.
F1 drivers' last names.
Last names.
Yeah, past to present, from N to Z.
I have to do all of them.
Oh, not
No,
just
no,
you.
well,
We're gonna share
we're
it out.
taking
Don't worry.
turns. So
Take
Oh,
it in turns.
you go
okay.
in, and then we change.
And then help each other out if we can't think of one. Oh
Yeah,
my
Yeah.
gosh.
So okay, so I believe you're starting on N.
I can
if
think
I'm
of
correct.
a first name begin with N, but I
So-
can't do it.
Go on, Henry.
Oh my
N.
word. Trying to think of
There's
all
a
the
current
drivers
driver on
that
the grid beginning with N.
Oh yeah. Oh, stupid. Norris. I'll go for Norris. I was thinking of like Nelson Piquet, but
I
said
just
that's his
remembered,
first name.
I
Norris,
was
yeah.
just going through this year's drive. I think, oh yeah, Norris.
I was
Norris.
thinking like Nikita. I was thinking like Nikita Mazepin or Nelson Piquet, but I
Yeah.
couldn't think of an N. Yeah, Norris. Fair enough. Yeah. And Norris, got it.
Go on, Wes.
Have I got it? Ocon.
What's the next
P.
letter of the alphabet?
P.
Pete. You've got no hope, then, haven't you?
Here we go. To be fair, Henry's already said someone. with the
PK,
surname P.
Nelson PK.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I would have said Checo Perez.
Perez,
Um,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Q.
Surely there's not one
Oh,
for Q.
blimey.
Is there one for
You know,
Q?
I did have a look. I'll have a sneaky little out.
PK.
Okay. Let's just. I don't think there's one for Q. There can't be, surely.
I'll go for. Should I move to R and then
Yeah,
we can come
yeah,
back to
go-
Q?
yeah, move
Because I'll
on to
go for
R.
Russell or Rosberg.
Senna.
Well, it was well. Where's this go?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Hang on,
sorry.
Schumacher. There's loads of S's actually.
Loads of S's.
I'll go
Well,
Ralph Schumacher.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
T. Go on then. T.
Oh, yeah.
Sam. I've got one for T.
T. I'm taking it as past driver beginning with T. Gosh. Pass.
I'd go for Yarno Trulli.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh, truly, yeah. Oh my gosh.
I would say Takuma Sato, but that's his first name, Takuma.
Yeah, that's the same. I can't think of any others beginning with T.
Sonoda.
Funny,
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Oh wow.
Oh my goodness.
Does
Oh,
that count? Does that count?
Yeah, yes, I know.
Oh my goodness.
I have just had a look at drivers beginning with Q. There's one, Dieter Questa, Austrian driver,
Austrian.
who took part in 2 Grand Prix in 1969 and 1974. So there's no chance we would have got that.
Yeah. Where are we on?
Where are we now? U. Oh, blimey. U.
Blimey.
That's,
You.
no.
No.
Search it while we think of
Yeah.
V. Oh, that's easy. V. Go on, Sam.
Verstappen.
Hey.
Or Vettel. I would have said
Or
Vettel.
Vettel, yeah.
So yeah.
Because I don't know who Verstappen is. Who's
Or
Verstappen? Jos Verstappen.
or Villeneuve. John Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, yeah.
Villeneuve.
No, I can't think of any. I was going to say Vanwall, but Vanwall's a team.
Yeah.
There must be someone.
There was a
from
team one on
earlier
Good to Good
days.
V. W.
W.
Williams.
I can think of
Frank
at
Williams.
least. I can think of at least 2. You've already said
The
one.
W.
Yeah.
Frank Williams. Was Frank Williams a driver? Wasn't he?
No, he wasn't
Oh.
a driver. No, just a team ball.
Oh,
W.
Williams.
No, Williams isn't one. But there's.
Mm.
Oh, there. I mean, surely someone would have been called Williams in Formula One.
Surely.
Surely.
Yeah, there's a Jonathan Williams.
There we
Who took
go.
place in
See.
There we go.
One Grand Prix in 1967. Of course, who could forget Jonathan Williams?
Oh yeah, brilliant driver. One of my favourite drivers of his generation. Is there any other W's? Did you find the
Marcus Winkelhock for W? Who raced for Spiker in 2007 at the Nürburgring, led every race that he's participated in.
Interesting.
Because the team gambled on sticking him on wets for the start, and it rained just as the race started, so everyone else had to go into the pits to switch to wets. Yeah, Winkelhock was just out there on wet tyres. For you, there's a few for you. No one we would have heard of. Tony Allman for West Germany in 1952, Bobby Unser, Jerry Unser Jr., and Alberto Uraya.
Yeah, we wouldn't have got it.
Yeah,
And we've got
Sorry.
we've got 3 letters that are dead hard.
combined Grand Prix of 7 for those 4 drivers.
Yeah, we would have got any of them.
What's the
And then
next
the
level?
last 3. It's X,
Well,
Y, and Z.
I don't. There can't be someone for it. There's no one for X. There's a
Name
few for Y
tracks,
and a
Zandvoort. There we go, done. If it X, you can't unless it was somebody called like Xavi or.
No, there's no one for X. There are 2 drivers for Y, and 5 for Z.
Right.
So
I wouldn't expect.
I would expect
Yuki.
Yuki. You can't have Yuki.
So
No.
so the drivers for Y, they are past, right?
Yeah, they're past drivers. One of which raced from 06 to 2010. The other one from 01 to 02. One is
06.
Japanese. One is Malaysian.
I know it was really
06.
Japanese.
06 to 2010.
Is it Yamamoto?
Yeah.
It's not Yamamoto, is
Yes, Yamamoto.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow!
Yamamoto.
Well done,
Yamamoto.
06 to
I
07.
knew
then
he was
2010.
Japanese.
Yamamoto.
What year was he? What year was he?
2006 to 2007. Then
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah, because he's in my
21 Grand Prix.
F1 game because I play all the retro F1 games and he's in
Oh,
that.
nice.
Oh, nice one.
The other
And
one
then
was Alex Young.
What was the other? Why?
Alex Young from Malaysia, 01 to 02, 18 Grand Prix.
Yeah, because they were saying Alex Albon isn't the first Malaysia driver because it was him.
Yeah.
He was one of the first ones, wasn't he? And then Zed.
There's one with 44 Grand Prix who's Italian who is the one.
Zandretti? No.
No.
Zat
It begins Zan.
Zandvoort.
No.
Zan.
He's now. I think he's lost his legs in accident or was paralysed from the waist below. So he does hand cycling now. This driver.
I don't think I could think of a
I
Zed.
don't think I could.
Let's see if I can. What teams did he race for? Let's have a look. He raced for Jordan, Minardi, Lotus, and Williams between 91 and 99.
No clue.
No
Zan.
He got gold. He got gold in the Rio Olympics, 2 golds, road time trial, and mixed team relay.
He went
Go on,
to
just tell
he
us,
went to
just
the
tell us.
Olympics. Blimey.
Yeah. Alex Zanardi.
Zanardi.
Was there any others? Is there any others there that we would know?
There's a
like
few,
recent.
there wouldn't be any others that you would know. Emilio Zappico won Grand Prix in 1976. Ricardo Zonta, Brazilian 37 Grand Prix. Renzo Zorzi is the Italian 7 Grand Prix, and Ricardo Zunino 11 Grand Prix. So not many at all.
To be fair, for the harder letters from N, we did all right there. I think
We did all right. Yeah,
Yeah, we did all right.
Letters,
Well, I believe that's it. That's the end.
that'll be it.
We've come to the end of another episode of the AfterBurners podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. A new champion was crowned. Michael Masi and Race Control just can't
Controversy.
get their decisions right. Yeah. Well, we have just 90 days until F1 comes back again. Specs.
Just that's 3 months. It's an age away.
Race week. When's it race week? A long
When's it
time.
race
Yeah.
When's it wait?
Railway Seek.
Railway Seek.
New drivers and old drivers coming in. We've got some new names. Well, I've been your host, Samuel Oni, and we hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, it's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye-bye.
And Henry Buxton too.
Stay safe. See you soon.
See you next time, and we'll be back for F1 again soon.